Hello again, this is Livestream Insiders, it's episode 137. There goes the bell and here comes the clock, because what we say is we'll give you the last 7 days of live streaming news in the next 30 minutes or so. Coming up, we've got stories about Periscope, we've got stories about Facebook, and also stories about Musical.ly and Lively, and also we've got a report from the Summit Live conference as well. Hello, welcome back. I'm Peter Stewart and my co-host is Krishna Day.
Hi there, Peter. Another busy week. I'm looking forward to all the ideas and content that we're going to be sharing. If you're new to Livestream Insiders, Peter and I actually are really passionate about helping you integrate live content into your communications, your social media marketing. It could be customer support, it could even be employee engagement or crisis management. And so Peter brings with him a vast amount of broadcasting experience, and I bring with me a lot of big brand experience in terms of digital communications and also traditional communications as well. So we like to get on with the show, giving you lots of ideas and tips. Thank you so much for being here with us live, and to those of you who watch us on the replay. You're all very valued and we really watch out for your comments. So I'm going to head on over just to see if anybody's joining us here live already. And Peter, let's get on with the show.
Absolutely. It's the longest running program about live streaming on the live streaming platform, which kind of makes sense. So we're really pleased that you can join us. As I say, episode 137. In this week's edition of the program, the live app that's facing death. Another app is born. The mother? Well, Facebook. We've got a report from Summit Live on live streaming in content marketing. Krishna is going to be looking into her crystal ball, or even a Krishna ball, with a prediction on live video stats 12 months from now. We've also got a story about why Periskop might be in trouble in Turkey, and the new must-have for live streaming if you're going to be deep diving. It's niche, I appreciate. But those stories coming up, as I say, in the next 30 minutes or so, right here on Livestream Insiders. We'll start off with the story about how Musical.ly is merging the functionality of its live streaming app Lively into its main app. So eventually Lively going to be pulled from the App Store completely. I say Lively, it's live.ly. I say Musical.ly, it's musical.ly, but you see what they did there with that suffix. Lively being launched back in May 2016. It was directly viewable on Musical.ly as well as in its own mobile app as well, as a bit of background. And you'll be able to see how many people were watching, and also you'll be able to see hearts being given by those who were watching as well. So a little bit of the Facebook kind of concept there, and the layout and so on. Little warning about the predicted shutdown or imminent shutdown. So some people who are using Lively not very happy about that. But the owners of the app say that it is still committed to the live streaming platform and the functionality. Musical.ly was actually sold back in November of last year to a Chinese company for round about $1 billion, which gives some idea about the value that has been put onto its head, this live streaming app. And as I say, Chinese media company, ByteDance, their name. We've spoken so many times on the program before about how live streaming is so prolific and indeed is so valuable in China, way beyond anywhere else in the world. And one of the problems, or one of the criticisms, has always been of Lively and indeed Musical.ly as well. Very little moderation, not many ways for you to be able to complain or to stop any harassment from potential trolls on that platform, which has always been a bit of a problem. It's something that Periskop, to its credit, does seem to have gone quite a way to sorting out, as was discussed at the Mojo Festival a couple of weeks back, that Krishna and I were in attendance in Ireland. And as we said last week, Facebook has begun testing something which is a little similar to a Musical.ly, called the Lip Sync Live, where you'll be able to sing along to your favourite songs. Krishna was talking about that last week. I've had a little bit of a test out on it as well. A few little buggy problems, especially on the user interface, on the UI, that you can't actually seem to be able to choose the songs that you want to sing along to. And even when you do find a song that you want to sing along with, then there's a bit of a problem in as much as the lyrics don't actually come up on the screen. So you've got to know those, or you've got to be able to look at a different device to be able to do that. But Musical.ly seems to be going pretty well. 200 million registered users, 60 million of whom use the app on a monthly basis. Lively, for its part, been downloaded 26 million times to date, 87% of those on iOS devices. So if you're a user of Lively, it's going to be shut down. You're not going to be able to access it directly from your app in the next few days. It's going to be merged with Musical.ly. The future for Musical.ly, when Facebook bring out their lip sync live feature right across Facebook, round around the world, well, that's going to be a matter. We'll have to wait and see exactly how Musical.ly survives that particular onslaught. So that is our top story this week. I'll be back again in a few moments' time after Krishna brings you up to date with an update to Facebook Live.
Okay, so those of you who know me will know I am not a gamer at all. I do very little gaming. But I know that many of you are. So if you're here and you've seen this, we'd love to know what your thoughts are about it. And it's all about Facebook going big on gaming. Now, we've talked about this topic a few times, and I'm actually going to make sure that you have all the access to all the resources, as always, at the end of the show. So I'll give you a link to the actual press release from Facebook about it. So in January, you might recall that we actually covered, I think this is a story, about the Gamer Creative Program that Facebook had launched. And since then, they've actually seen lots of people, thousands of people, they say, in their announcement, actually live streaming and building communities around games that they love on Facebook directly. However, they've made some changes now, and they've said to help gaming creators get started, we're announcing our Level Up program for creators who are just beginning to build their communities on Facebook. Remember, there's been a huge shift to this whole area of communities and groups. So it doesn't matter whether it's around gaming, it's around all other areas. And Facebook has been investing a lot of time in terms of talking to creators and talking to people who run major sized communities to actually help them understand what resources people need. So I'm sure they've been doing that around gaming as well. And they said, available in the coming months, the program is going to give creators information and tools to jumpstart their communities and earn money for their work. Key elements of the program include couple of things I want to highlight and reference. Earning money with Facebook stars. So the Level Up members will be able to earn money through fan support. So like we've seen on other platforms, including YouTube, including Periscope. And it's called Facebook Stars, and the feature lets fans support their favourite gaming creators by purchasing and sending virtual goods. Now, I should say that this announcement came out just before our last show, so we just missed it. So this you may have come across this news over the last week. The second thing that they said for creators is you can earn access to new features for live streaming. Level Up members will receive access to new features, best practices from established gaming creators. Methinks that sounds a little bit like the creator community on YouTube, who put a lot of time and effort, including bringing people together in terms of their huge creators to actually learn and experiment. And also, you might recall that YouTube has got creator spaces that you can actually physically go to in different parts of the world. I wonder if Facebook's going to be doing that. I would be very suspicious if they didn't. I would think they will be absolutely doing that kind of thing too. And they want to give emerging gaming creators, so this is great for those of you who are just getting started, the information and support in terms of that they can live stream to grow their communities more quickly and focus on creating great content. They also say in the announcement that there's other ways that you'll be able to actually connect. So if you are like me and you're not a gamer, but you actually want to watch other people game, then they're going to give us resources to be able to do that. And they said, we want to help more people, help creators and get discovered to reach new fans and make it easier for people to find and follow gaming content. And they're always already watching them in the news feed, in groups, and also in pages. And they've been also testing a new gaming video destination. So, just like we've got the watch show destination, there might be something, because they're just testing it at the moment. There's a URL for it, FB, Facebook, as always for their shortened URL, .gg. And that aggregates all the live and pre-recorded gaming video on Facebook in one place. So you might want to have a look at that. The details were on the Facebook newsroom in terms of this new update. Do let us know if you experiment with it or want to test it out. Check out the press release or the update that we'll share with you afterwards, and you'll find relevant links in that announcement.
Krishna, thank you. Livestream Insiders, episode 137. Krishna will be back in a few moments' time with predictions which have been published this week about live streaming, live video stats next year. So we'll take a look at those with Krishna, as I say, in a few moments' time. Now, back in September 2015, I was asked to speak at the Periskop Community Summit in New York City. Couldn't actually call it the Periskop Summit for rights and copyright reasons. But the Periskop Community Summit, over the years, that has been morphed into a slight change of name. And it's now called Summit Live. And it was held recently. And there have been quite a few reports out that we've been monitoring. And this one particularly caught our eye from Darcy Gabrielle, who was able to attend the Summit Live. And a report from her, live streaming as content marketing, quantity versus quality. And it's an interesting article to look at. We'll just spend a few moments looking at it briefly. And essentially, the two schools of thought about producing either a lot of content quickly, maybe on a phone where you're more mobile and when it's more simple and straightforward, which usually is the kind of school of thought that I'm from, or whether you're going to be spending a bit more time in producing your content on a live stream. So it's going to be perhaps more potentially engaging, but it's going to take longer to set up. Maybe it's longer form content and maybe involving studios, proper cameras rather than mobile phones, and it's going to look much more TV-like or TV-light. And the article will just quickly run through very briefly about the pros and cons of each of those different kinds of approaches. The fast and cheap one, well, it kind of says it for itself, doesn't it? It is fast, it is cheap, you're producing potentially much more content, which means that there's more opportunities for different people to engage with you, to engage with your brand, to engage with the stories or examples or situations or scenes that you are telling them about. And it's much more simple, much more straightforward to be able to go live, which means that you can do it anytime, any place, anywhere, like the old drinks advert from the 1970s here in the UK. And therefore, it's going to be minimal costs, if any costs at all, because you're just going live with a mobile phone, possibly on Wi-Fi or 4G data, and it can be done possibly with your own internal team. So very little additional training. You're not having to bring anybody else in to help you do that. And the strategy can be light, can be flexible. You can jump in onto a live stream almost at a moment's notice. There's lots going on. You're quite busy. But the flip side of that, well, Darcy came up with 5 flip sides. Let's just have a look at a couple of these. Not all the content is going to be appropriate and engaging for everyone. You're producing an awful lot of it. But maybe a scattergun approach, so you may be hitting a few people of interest with each one of those live streams that you do. But arguably, if you're doing so many of them, people won't realise that some of those may be appropriate for them if they just catch one or two which aren't. And potentially you've got low quality video potentially low quality audio as well. If it's just coming from a mobile phone, maybe it's not going to be steady. You've just got that one shot, so live and moving it around to different situations. You're not going to be able to cut at the moment quite as easily as you will be able to maybe in the future from mobile phones, and certainly not be able to cut quite as easily as you will be able to do in a studio-like situation. So alternatively, that TV-like setup, maybe a bit more thought, maybe a bit more planning, maybe a bit more storylining going into it, maybe a bit more thought, maybe more, better produced, maybe more crafted, possibly longer form content. Instead of just a 10 minutes of a scene or a situation or a story, maybe something which is longer lasting, maybe with more guests, maybe an hour or even more. We've seen some shows in this kind of concept which have been, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, something like that, maybe based around something specific like a debate or general election coverage or something like that. So amongst the pros that Darcy outlined, quality potentially means more engagement and the audience staying more attentive to what it is that you're talking about. The content arguably more memorable and arguably inspiring more action. But the cons, maybe you have to hire in specialists to do it. Maybe you have to buy better equipment, more cameras, some kind of switching system, people to be able to do that switching, a producer, a director, people to mix the audio, maybe someone to bring in other graphics while you are going live, maybe something at the beginning, middle and end to make it look more memorable with logos and lower thirds and camera and audio switching capabilities. It's an interesting article to read about. It's by Darcy Gabrielle. The link will be available straight after the show, and she's published it on her LinkedIn profile there.
Always interesting to read other people's perspectives and experiences when they've been at events or conferences. I know that I can see a few people watching here today who also were at that same conference that Peter was talking about. And so if you actually were at Mojo Fest a couple of weeks ago, do let us know if you've written any reviews or posted any videos about it. I've been trying to watch out for them, particularly on Twitter, and love to be able to share them. So particularly if you've done anything in terms of where you covered the panel that Peter and I were on, there was certainly one nice write-up that we did, and of course we did a review of the event a couple of weeks ago on Livestream Insiders. But do post or let us know on Twitter if you've got any content relating to live video. We love to see other people's perspectives, as we said, particularly if you've been attending conferences. I'm going to turn my attention to 3 quick little updates for you now. 2 which are in terms of things that I've spotted on Facebook to help you in terms of with your Facebook Lives, and 1 in terms of some statistics that I think you're going to be interested in. And so the first one I want to share with you is that in terms of cross-posting video content. So we talked about this. I think we were the first people who actually referenced the fact that cross-posting of live video was available on Facebook. So particularly if you're actually using a third-party tool like we are using Blue Jeans here today. And so we could set up a number of different Facebook pages for the content to go out simultaneously live. Now we've covered this in previous shows. If you want to get in contact with me and want to have direction to where we've given you specific tips, because I know some people don't like the feature. Personally, I think it's a great feature and it's a really good feature if you're a brand. However, one thing that I noticed that is something to be aware of. So the originating live stream here today is here on Livestream Insiders. We could share it to anywhere we want, but we can also cross-post it, which means it goes out as if it's a live video. And so what happens at the end of that, I always recommend that you optimize your content. I'm not going to go into all the details of that, but one of the things to do is to make sure that you have captions, if not for the full event, but then certainly for part of it, to give people a little bit of an understanding. And of course, you could actually download your video and re-upload it. But if you want all of the original conversations and content from the original live stream, then you really need to either upload captions directly to Facebook, or you can rely on the auto captioning. The thing that I noticed when I actually was editing our show last week is when I actually was editing it on a page that the video had been, or the live stream had been cross-posted to. Actually, it doesn't give the automatic cross-posted video, if it's more than 30 minutes, the captions. So why am I telling you this? Because actually, it's really important for you to know if you're going to do a collaboration, or you're cross-posting your content even to your own pages, and you want the captions to be there afterwards. One of the things you're going to have to be aware of is if that live stream at the minute, this is what I'm seeing, if that if that live video is more than 30 minutes long, what you will need to do is actually upload captions to Facebook. You cannot rely on the auto captioning from the cross-posted video. So that's just a little thing to watch out for, because I know that some of you do much longer live streams than 30 minutes. Some of you do live streams for several hours. And so you just want to think about that. Of course, you can upload captions, but you can see there it says auto-generated is unavailable for videos longer than 30 minutes. So that's the first quick tip that I actually wanted to share with you that I spotted on Facebook just a week ago. The second thing I wanted to highlight is when you're actually encouraging people to participate in your live streams, there's lots of different ways that you can promote it. And one of the ways you can encourage people to do so, and I noticed some of these features disappearing off my mobile apps in the last number of months, is you could actually turn on notifications to get live video content. And so I used to be able to say, what kind of content did I want from a page, and did I want to get the live video content? Now, for whatever reason, I don't see that on my iOS or my Android apps anymore. If you go to a page, you can do it. However, what I did notice is this in terms of, again, just a screen share or screenshot from something I was watching this week. I actually watched the replay of this stream. It's from an organization I do some work with, so disclosure, I actually do some event work with them. It's called SAGE. You'd know it as an international organization around software. And one of the things I noticed is it said that SAGE was live, but right next to it was a little notification which allowed me to turn on notifications for that live stream. So a little tip that you might want to share, perhaps in your communications in advance of your live stream, during a live stream, or after your live stream, is to remind people if they're watching on their desktop, they may well see a little bell notification at the top, and therefore they can make sure they turn that on and never miss one of your next live streams, because that will come into their notifications. And so I have got those turned on for a number of pages that I follow, so I know that even if I miss it live, then it will pop up there in my notifications, and I can then watch the replay. So that's my second quick tip for you in terms of Facebook Live. And the third thing I want to share with you is an announcement that came out earlier on this week, and that is about this research that was done and published from the IAB. It's research about live video. And so I'm not going to go into all of the details. I just want to highlight one piece of this live video research. So this is published in terms of their press release on the 13th of June. And they said that more than 2/3, 67% of consumers globally have streamed live video content, and 52% of that group prefer free and supported live streaming over subscription and a la carte services. According to the report, it's called Live Video Streaming, A Global Perspective. I'm going to have a link to the press release, and from there you'll be able to get all of the access to the research that was done. I think this is going to be really helpful for those of you who are putting together a case for your organization about whether they should be using live streaming. And there you'll see Middle East and North Africa are really, really very big in terms of live streaming. The global average is 67%, and Europe is 66%. 64% of those people who've streamed live video have engaged with an ad, including pre-roll or sponsored ads when streaming. As I said, lots and lots of interesting information there. And also said with the World Cup obviously taking part now, or starting now, it started this week, as some of you might be watching it. And I'm going to come back to a story on that at the end of the show. And it said the study looked at live streaming intentions among those who want to watch, and it said overall 65% who've live streamed video previously expect to live stream the matches predominantly on smartphones. So a lot of people are going to be watching the World Cup in terms of on their mobile device. And so slightly more on, as they describe it, linear TV, 71%, but 65% are saying they're going to be watching it on mobile. I would highly suspect that figure will be even greater at the end of it, because I'm sure people will not be able to resist. Oh, I wonder what the score is. I wonder what's happening. And so we'll tell you how you might be able to catch up with some of that a little bit later on.
Okay, just before the end of the show, the last story from me certainly is about Periskop, and they may be in trouble in Turkey because they may be blocked. Why? Because of the name Periskop. A Turkish court has been ruling in a case about the name and about its trademark name, to be honest with you, because it actually already belongs to a Turkish advertising company called Periskop, and the company said it registered the name Periskop in Turkey well before the Periskop live streaming app was founded in the United States in 2015. And so it's not very happy with Twitter, which owns Periskop, and also Google and Apple as well, because by using Google, then you actually find the Periskop app rather than the Periskop advertising company before. So that the live streaming app comes up before it does for the advertising company. So they have ruled, a court in Turkey has ruled, that if Twitter continues to use the Periskop brand in Turkey, it could very well be blocked by the authorities. So Twitter's attorney has got involved as well and said, there's no confusion here. They're two completely different companies doing two completely different things. So therefore, we should be allowed. So obviously, they are now contesting the case. Now, as you may remember, Periskop really took off in Turkey in the early days when there were those disputes and protests and demonstrations going on in Ankara and indeed elsewhere around Turkey in the early days of 2015, in the early days of Periskop. And it certainly has been one of the most used live streaming apps anywhere in the world in Turkey. So that's obviously going to be a bit of a blow if either they can't use it there, whether it's blocked or whether they've got to rename it. I suspect this story could be going on and on. We'll keep an eye out for you on Livestream Insiders, see how it develops over the next few months.
I don't know if you saw this that I posted probably about an hour ago, Peter, over on Twitter, but there's an article, and again, it was in the curation that we've got on the Globe Post, and it actually says an Istanbul court ruled to block access to Twitter's Periskop live video service after accepting a lawsuit lodged by Periskop, which is obviously spelt slightly differently. So it looks like that story has, as you said, is going on and on. And they said the court has decided to block access to Periskop account on Twitter and Periskop.tv to end the violation in the Turkish company's rights. So let's see what happens there in terms of that legal case. I'm glad I'm not a lawyer. My last story for everybody in terms of today is one which, we thought we needed to have something that was highly relevant. I know it's Father's Day, so happy Father's Day if you're celebrating that with your family. Obviously not in every part of the world, but I know some of you are celebrating that. And what better way, I think, for many people is to gather around. I know lots of men and women like to catch up with football. And of course, with the World Cup going on, how can your brand and how can your business interact in terms of the live video content with the World Cup? Well, of course, we don't have to look very far other than actually to look at Paddy Power, who is award-winning, absolutely award-winning in terms of their digital content. And of course, what do they want to do? So if you don't know Paddy Power, they're a bookmaker. So where you can bet, and of course they've been very good in terms of content marketing and creating content. So they have now got their own show specifically once a week during the course of the World Cup. So it's streaming on the 17th, which is today. In fact, I just saw the end of it myself on Twitter. It's on the 24th, the 27th, and the 1st of July, 1st, 8th, and 15th of July. So quite a number of weeks. It's going to be streamed on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So they launched their own World Cup show. It's called Paddy's Boat Party. And they're working with an Irish production company in terms of who specialises in actually digital content and high quality content. And so that's going to be interesting to see what they do. So it's going to be opulent. It's going to have celebrities there. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fun, or as they say in Ireland, crack. And so it'll be interesting to watch that. And they said the managing director of the studio, who's actually working alongside Paddy Power is always one of the most talked about brands during major tournaments, and off script are delighted to play a role in amplifying it for the World Cup. And then Michelle Spillane, who's actually the head of marketing and the brand director for UK and Ireland, said, the World Cup is being hosted in Russia. It sounded like the perfect excuse for us to actually hire an oligarch's yacht for the summer, and we thought we'd do something with it to justify the cost. And of course, I think that was a bit of that as tongue-in-cheek. And so they decided to actually host their own show. So I'll be watching out. I'm sure Peter will too, in terms of how other organisations are interacting with live content, live video, live audio for the World Cup. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But nice to see how one brand is doing that already. I'm going to pass it back to Peter to wrap up the show for us for this week. So from me, it's farewell until next week.
Absolutely, and of course it's the first time that live streaming has really been around to such an extent during a World Cup, which of course every 4 years. Let's just leave you with this, as I promoted it a little bit earlier on, and that is the underwater housing from which you can live stream. So not so much live streaming as live river bedding, I suppose you could say. It's an obsidian underwater housing that you can live stream inside of, and they've been testing it out at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, doing a Facebook Live from that. And if you go to 360rumors.com, you can have a little swim around there, a little bit of a surf, and you'll be able to see some really lovely pictures from inside the deep blue sea in the Monterey Bay Aquarium, where they've been live streaming underwater. So another example of pushing the boundaries with live streaming. Okay, that's about it. Thank you so much indeed for watching. Our time is up. We try and limit it as much as we can to 30 minutes. Episode 137 with me, Peter Stewart, live from London, and also Krishna Day as well. Thank you so much indeed for the loan of your eyes and your ears. We'll be back in 7 days to bring you up to date with the latest live streaming tech news as well, the features and the functions, and everything that's happened in the world of tech and production and presentation, all to do with live streaming. Until then, have a great week ahead. Bye-bye for now.